Are you looking to shoot more cinematic footage with your GoPro Hero 9? If so, then you need this anamorphic lens. Hello friends and welcome back to the studio. This is Susie with Gemini Connect and I'm here today with the GoPro Hero 9, which is my absolute favorite camera for travel vlogging. So I know it's an action camera, but I use it for cinematic footage as well as travel vlogs. And this little lens here is something that has really helped me get more cinematic footage. So this is an anamorphic lens by Skyreet, and it's pretty simple. In the box we get a nice zippered case, and inside of the case we get the little anamorphic lens. So there is both a back cover and a front cover for the lens, and it looks a lot like the GoPro Max lens mod. So this is GoPro's own lens that came out earlier this year, and it's really cool because it allows you to get really super wide footage. The main restriction is that it only shoots in up to 2.7K, and again, it's only for the GoPro Hero 9. So this anamorphic lens is not by GoPro, it's made by another company, but it functions in very much the same way that Max lens mod does. So first of all, you want to go over to your Hero 9. You can do this whether the camera is inside of the media mod or not, but you want to twist off the front lens filter. Now the very first time you remove the filter, it's going to be really difficult and it might seem like it's impossible to do. But the more times you do it, the easier the filter comes off. So pop off that filter and then take your new anamorphic lens and just put that on instead. So it snaps into place really easily. Then you take off this front cover and you see that now the anamorphic lens is on top of the GoPro. So if you're not familiar with anamorphic lenses, here's a really brief overview. So a lot of cinematographers like to use anamorphic lenses because they have a really distinct look. Number one, they have a distinct lens flare whenever it's pointed directly at light. That lens flare usually spans across the horizontal axis of the frame. And number two, whenever you use this lens, it results in a really wide aspect ratio. So it usually means that the top and the bottom of your footage is going to be boxed off, leaving you with a really rectangular image. So some people really love the look of anamorphic lenses and others do not, but generally speaking, it's widely accepted as resulting in a really cinematic look to your videos. So to my knowledge, GoPro has not yet made an anamorphic lens for any of the GoPro models out there, but this company Skyreet has made the lens again specifically for the Hero 9. So once you attach the lens to the GoPro, your GoPro is no longer waterproof. In fact, it's already not waterproof if you're using the media mod, but you can use the anamorphic lens with the GoPro by itself, and it does make the whole unit not waterproof. So just keep that in mind. But after you attach the lens to the GoPro, it's pretty much plug and play. There's very little that you have to do, but there are some camera settings that you might want to take into account and adjust on your Hero 9. So here are some of the camera settings that I use on my Hero 9. Number one, resolution and frame rate. I always shoot in 4K resolution, and whenever I'm shooting cinematic footage, I usually shoot at a higher frame rate, such as 4K 30, or in this case, I even shot in 4K 60 frames per second. And the main reason is not only is the resolution a little bit better that way, but it's because I edit my final video in 4K 24 frames per second. So whenever I shoot at a higher frame rate and import into a 4K 24 project, that gives me the flexibility to slow down my 4K footage just a touch without losing a whole lot of resolution. And the main advantages to shooting slow-mo is number one, it provides some extra stability to your footage, and it just gives you a more cinematic look because it slows down the movement of your camera, which of course you can do by yourself, but it's really hard to do that. So using slow-mo or slowing down your footage is a little cheat that you can do in post-production. Some other settings that I have in my GoPro is that I keep the bitrate at high. I also have hypersmooth on boost or high just to give it some extra image stabilization in camera. And I also usually shoot in a flat profile to give me more control over the color grading in post-production. Another thing I might add to my GoPro setup is a gimbal. So this is the Moza Mini P, and this is one of few gimbals out there that are available for the GoPro Hero 9. The Hero 9 is the largest GoPro of any of the other models out there, so a lot of the older GoPro-oriented gimbals cannot yet support the Hero 9. So that's why I go with the Moza Mini P. This gimbal can actually support even up to a mirrorless camera, but it also supports the GoPro just fine. And the gimbal gives me, again, just more stable footage as I'm shooting with my GoPro, and so that again results in more cinematic footage. The final setting that you should have in your GoPro Hero 9 is the digital lens. So if you're not aware, some of the modern GoPros these days now come with digital lenses to give you the guise of zooming into your image. So you can have something like a narrow field of view, or you can back out and get that ultra wide field of view, but ultimately it's removed that stigma of GoPro having the GoPro look, like that fisheye look to their videos. And so if you're going to be shooting with this anamorphic lens, you want to make sure to set your GoPro Hero 9's digital lens to linear. This is the official advice from Skyreach. So I actually had to ask them because the box itself did not come with directions. So I wasn't sure if I had to be shooting in wide or ultra wide. They ultimately said that you want to be shooting in linear and that shooting in a wide digital lens is really unideal for the anamorphic. And looking at some of my footage where I did shoot in the wide angle lens, you can see why. You can actually see parts of the lens showing up in my frame, which is really not ideal. So as long as you have these settings dialed into your GoPro, this again is a plug and play lens. You just put it on your GoPro and you can start filming pretty much right away. The only other hurdle comes when you're trying to edit your videos. So when you're shooting with an anamorphic lens on any camera, you have to do an extra step in post-production, and that is known as desqueezing your footage. So here's some resulting footage that I shot with the anamorphic lens directly at a camera before I put it into post-production. And you might notice that the footage just looks a little bit off. So what you have to do is go into your video editing software of choice and you have to de-squeeze the footage. Now, some programs will have a de-squeeze mode automatically, but for me, I use Final Cut Pro to do all of my editing. So all I have to do is open up that footage in Final Cut, click on the clip, open up Transform, go to Scale, and then go down to the Y-axis. And then I want to type in 75 as opposed to 100. And this stretches out my footage and it makes it look just right. So don't forget that crucial post-production step if you're going to be filming with the anamorphic lens. So that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comments if you have any more questions about shooting with anamorphic lenses or using it on the Hero 9. Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.